from ABSA, overcoming all obstacles. The third of 8 races in the series, and this part of the season has to be defining for teams as all the little niggles, failures and settings have to be eliminated and teams, car, driver and navigator supposed to start delivering consistent results. The Nissan Sugarbout 400 was crunch time for a lot of special vehicle teams.
Prologue specialists Gary Bertelt and Andre Vermeulen had their second dustless start in a row, and the Atlas Copco was in fine fettle.
Seward and Holberg started quickly but were also trying to temper the natural instinct to want to go too fast.
Hutchinson and Bergman were back after their opening race burnout, but they had steering shaft trouble and were just holding the Motorite back a bit.
Albertson, Hunter and the Rapsa Bat hadn't tasted victory for a while and were ready to dine on that elusive taste again.
Even that 6-litre Chev engine sounds hungry. With the men in second place on the ABSA Championship log, the Silvolts down a few spots after getting stuck in the sugarcane.
The two Dons, Thompson and Blakey, were still firmly entrenched in the top 10 and were putting together a great first loop, leading Class P.
Terence Marsh has always been a consistent, smooth and patient driver, and on the long haul, those qualities get you to the line virtually every time.
With his teammates Michael Whitehouse and Matthew Carson, who had closed the gap on him slightly, and after starting 9th, had moved up 1 place. Class B leaders Bez Besaidnout and Johan de Bruin in the Edenko Bat had also picked up something sweet for the road, but then just about everyone tangled with a sugarcane out there during the day.
With Cry and Furch closing gaps all the time, they were already 4 places to the better.
At halfway, Bertelt was still keeping the Atlas Copco going along, while Vermeulen was doing a great job with his race notes in the lead.
Second in the specials, it was a handily placed Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergman in the Motorite Bat, getting into their stride as the sun came out again.
But they were feeling the pressure. Hunter and Alberts were doing the chasing and pulling closer than the margin for comfort allowed.
The dust in KZN was stifling at times, and it's doubly as bad for the special vehicle lads. They've got nowhere to hide.
Whitehouse and Carlson in that second Regent Racing Bat were applying huge dollops of pressure, only 20 seconds behind and riding crop in the hand.
Meanwhile, John Moore and Tom Clarkson in the Free Spirit had quietly worked their way into 8th place in class and were doing fantastically.
With Herman Seward and Paul Helberg in their Zarko Magnum with its huge Chevy engine, also right in the thick of things.
With Class P leader, the Edenko Bat of the brothers Besaidnout in complete control with a big time gap.
Cully and Quinton Seward were holding their place in the Zarko, 5th, and looking for mistakes from the men in front of them.
Now with the finish line in sight, all the drivers were giving it horn.
Young Cry and Tito Furch were comfortably leading Class B by a massive 16 minutes. They just had to keep it on its wheels to win.
The Century Property boys in Class B, Simon Beckett and Steve Harris, ran well all day long and kept the Cries honest.
And Mellon de Kock was always intent on getting the Luke Truggy to the line, and they did.
Now, talking about the line, Bertelt and Vermeulen broke the tape first. A huge win for the Atlas Copco team, while Motorite was more than happy to score opening points with Hutchinson and Bergman. Moore and Klaassen surprised with a fine 4th place.
The Seward's leapfrogged Marsh and Groenewald as a result, but now they led by 4 points. The halfway mark of the season was approaching.
And when it arrived, it was Hutchinson and Bergman who have triumphed in Botswana before and wanted to do it again. They were 81 seconds ahead at the finish line in Kumukwane after the prologue and led the specials away.
Marcus Alberts and Jeff Minute had given away very little and were firmly ensconced in 2nd place in the specials.
Matthews and Smith were feeling the desert dust, but had a steady rhythm going in 3rd.
With the category hotting up as Nick Harper hit his stride as well. His standing navigator Andrew Chalupsky was also doing a great job.
The Silvolt Zarko was growling in full throat on the way to a 4th fastest time to DSP, but it took its toll.
John Moore and Tom Clarkson had a great second day's racing, but they too fell victim to the Kalahari Desert savage conditions.
Alberts and Minute had grabbed the lead and were having a good time on day 2. But they too were destined to suffer mechanical troubles. The desert is tough on body and machine.
And in second in the special vehicle class, it was the Atlas Copco, Hopper and his stand-in co-driver Chalupsky. A very solid performance.
But as we keep telling you, the Kalahari provides as many perils as the high seas.
Bush, sand, little visibility, and lots of dust.
Lots of dust. Variawa and Rousseau had passed almost a dozen cars and were rocketing up the pecking order in the total motorsport quarter.
Championship leaders Collie and Quinton Sewald had the bit between their teeth in the brand new, or perhaps not so new, bat.
With Whitehouse and Carlson up into the top 5 for the first time in the 08 Toyota Botswana Kalahari 1000 Desert Race.
Herman Sewald and Paul Hellberg were looking good and were working hard over a hot steering wheel.
While Terence Marsh and his nav Peter Groenewald were super consistent and all the way up from 28th overall, despite wheel alignment problems which hampered them.
And in the P class, Johan and Etienne Besaidnout were trying to again outlast all comers in their Rurikon bat.
While Peter Ruthven and Deval Boshoff were trying to get the Rurikon bat home to the finish after a tough 500k round trip.
And Bez Besaidnout was again controlling his Edenko bat well in Class B.
After day 2, the Rapsa pairing of Alberts and Minute were ahead by almost 6 minutes.
But then there was Variawa, Harper and Matthews, all within striking distance.
On day 3, with 400 Ks to race, Alberts and Minute streaked away from the line, but were headed for disaster. They hit a rock, broke the rear suspension, and that was their desert race run.
Variawa, still on a high after the birth of his second child just 3 days before, was driving like a man possessed. Rousseau had to hold on tight to the car and his race notes.
With Nick Harper and stand-in nab Andrew Chalupsky in the turquoise Atlas Copco bat in third, chasing loads of dust.
Regents Matthews and Smith weren't exactly holding back either.
And the Silvolts, father Kali, son Quinton, were chasing for all they were worth too. They were protecting that championship lead.
Whitehouse and Carlson in the Regent Racing bat was super steady and got quicker and more determined as the day grew older.
And you can say that again for Marsh and Groenewald, their teammates.
In the Rurikon bat, the Whites were also gliding along early on, leading Class P.
With Besaidnout and De Bruyn, like they have virtually all season, setting the pace in Class B.
With De Bruyn and Fritz trying to chase them down in the second place.
But it was dusty work in the hot desert sun.
With the brothers Besaidnout, that's Johan and Etienne in the Edenko bat in the top position in Class P.
Up front, it was Variawa and Rousseau who had stormed into the lead after the Rapsa bat had succumbed to one of the desert's harder objects after 30 Ks.
Harper and Chalupsky came by next, getting every ounce of power and speed out of the Atlas Copco's grunting 6 liters.
The Silvolts, defending champions, were enjoying their new bat, but also were tensely watching the overheating gauges. They were almost into the red.
Michael Whitehouse switched from navigating to piloting the Regent Racing bat, and on the way to 4th place, he was obviously loving the change.
The Colin Matthews-Alan Smith combination were keeping a beady eye on proceedings. And if you watch carefully, well, you'll understand why.
Hairy to say the least. Marsh and Groenewald were looking for the finish line, but they were not quite there yet. In 6th, and steady as she goes.
In Class B, the Cape crew of Bez Besaidnout and Johan De Bruyn in their silver and blue Edenko bat outlasted the rest and were on their way to a second-class win of the year.
And in Class B, there was family joy for the Besaidnouts, Johan and Etienne, who clinched the Class P win.
The attrition rate was high. 28 specials entered, only 11 made it to the line. De Bruyn and Brits was the 9th team to do it.
They were 8 minutes up on Derry Tetoy and James Hutton, who piloted their bat into 10th place in the special category and 3rd in Class B.
While the two Dons, Thompson and Blakey, were the last finishers in 11th place. That gave them 2nd in class.
But the best drive of the race and their best performance of the season went to Variawa and Rousseau. The Total Motorsport duo were 23rd overall after the prologue, but finished 5th. The team in red and blue were overcome with joy, a long-awaited victory after 1 or 2 early season hiccups.
For Variawa, this ended a 15-year drought. That's how long he's been trying to taste victory in the Kalahari Desert. And he was just more than 2.5 minutes ahead of Harper.
An emotional win for Shamir Variawa. The Total Motorsport man took a long-awaited victory. Fatherhood is a powerful thing, and it left the rest of the field in his wake this time.
But the Sulvolts' 3rd place assured them of their place at the top of the championship log. They look like a good bet to still be up there after all 8 races.
Until next time, you keep it on the road.
We'll keep it off-road.
That was the ultimate test, the ABSA Off-Road